On the 29th of July, 1981, the world stood still for a fairy tale that seemed pulled from the pages of a legendary storybook. As the young Lady Diana Spencer arrived at St. Paul's Cathedral in a gown of ivory silk taffeta, a historic culinary operation was unfolding behind the scenes at Buckingham Palace. While the public focused on the kiss on the balcony, the royal kitchens were busy serving a wedding breakfast for over 120 distinguished guests. At the very center of this grand feast was a gesture of immense respect and affection, a dish created specifically to honor the new bride. It was named Suprême de Volaille Princesse de Galles, or Supreme of Chicken Princess of Wales. To name a new dish after a member of the royal family is a rare and prestigious honor, reserved only for the most significant figures in history. This delicate creation consisted of a succulent chicken breast stuffed with a rich, fine lobster mousse, then elegantly coated in a velvety butter sauce and garnished with tender English asparagus. It was a masterpiece, designed to be as vibrant and graceful as the woman it was named after. One palace historian later recounted how the kitchen staff felt a profound sense of duty, noting that the head chef told his team they were not merely cooking a meal, but were welcoming the Rose of England into the royal fold with the finest flavors of the land. This dish signaled to the world that Diana was truly the new star of the monarchy. If you were one of the millions who woke up early to watch the royal carriage on that beautiful summer morning, please share your favorite memories with us in the comments. We would love to know what that day meant to you. If you enjoy these deep dives into royal heritage, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel to help us preserve these incredible stories. The Supreme of Chicken was a triumph of classic French technique, fitting for the most famous wedding of the 20th century. Yet, as magnificent as the savory courses were, they were only the beginning of the day's staggering excess. Would you believe that to celebrate this union, the palace did not prepare just one wedding cake, but a literal wall of confectionery art? Beyond the grand dining room sat dozens of separate cakes, each with its own history. How many were there, and why did it take 14 weeks to build just one of them? We will uncover the secrets of the 27 wedding cakes in our next chapter. As guests wandered through the grand reception rooms of Buckingham Palace, they encountered a sight that seemed impossible: a vast hall lined with dozens of exquisite, towering confections. For the wedding of Charles and Diana, the palace did not settle for a single centerpiece. Instead, they showcased a staggering 27 official wedding cakes. This was not merely a display of abundance, it was a profound demonstration of the nation's loyalty and the deep-rooted traditions of the British Empire. Most of these 27 cakes were not commissioned by the royal couple themselves. Instead, they were prestigious gifts from various branches of the British Armed Forces and other national organizations. Each cake served as a symbolic offering of allegiance to the man who would one day be the king. One former palace staff member recalled the overwhelming moment the cakes arrived, describing the scene as a forest of white icing. He noted that the head chef gathered the kitchen team together, solemnly reminding them that they were not looking at mere desserts, but at the heartbeat of the services in sugar form. Each cake was a unique work of art, a miniature museum reflecting the history of the unit that presented it. The Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, and various historic regiments each sent a cake that acted as a sculpture. These masterpieces featured sugar-spun replicas of military badges, delicate icing flags, and intricate patterns that told the story of centuries of service. For the guests, walking past this wall of cakes was like walking through a gallery of national pride. It represented the unwavering support of the military for their future commander-in-chief and his new princess. The logistics of managing 27 separate masterpieces required an incredible level of coordination. Every cake had to be perfectly preserved, displayed with honor, and eventually distributed according to strict protocol. Yet, among this breathtaking collection of 27 treasures, there was one undeniable giant that stood above all others. It was the official main cake, an architectural wonder standing over 5 feet tall, more than 1.5 meters, and weighing as much as a fully grown human being. This massive tower was considered a national treasure from the moment its first layer was baked. How was such a titan constructed, and what secret ingredients allowed it to be prepared months in advance? We are about to look closer at the legendary 5-tier tower. Rising majestically above the other 26 confections was the official centerpiece of the day, a towering 5-tier masterpiece that remains the most famous cake in history. Standing over 5 feet tall and weighing a staggering 225 pounds, this was the main wedding cake, crafted with immense pride by the master bakers of the Royal Naval Cookery School. For an audience that treasures the deep traditions of the British monarchy, this cake was the ultimate expression of endurance and elegance. Unlike the soft sponge cakes often seen today, this was a dense, rich, traditional fruit cake, a choice made not only for its flavor, but for its incredible ability to be preserved for decades. The creation of this edible monument was an ordeal that lasted 14 weeks. It began months before the wedding day, as the fruit was soaked in fine brandy and the tiers were baked to perfection. David Avery, the head baker at the Naval School, later recalled the intense atmosphere in the bakery. He described how the team worked in a specialized, temperature-controlled environment, knowing that even a single mistake could ruin months of preparation. He noted that the pressure was not just about the taste, but about the art that would be viewed by billions of people around the globe. The decorative work was where the true magic happened. Each tier was coated in pristine white royal icing and served as a canvas for hand-painted sugar art. The bakers meticulously recreated the coats of arms for both the House of Windsor and the Spencer family. They even painted miniature scenes of the couple's favorite places, including Highgrove House and Althorpe, the Spencer family estate. Every line and every color was applied by hand using delicate sugar-based paints. It was a visual biography of the prince and princess, told through the medium of icing. This cake was built to last, symbolizing a marriage that the world hoped would stand the test of time. Yet, while this sugar-spun tower provided a sweet finale to the wedding breakfast, the true luxury of the meal lay in the savory courses that preceded it. Beyond the intricate icing and brandy-soaked fruit, the royal couple insisted on a menu that showcased the bounty of their own private lands. The most prestigious ingredients did not come from a market or a luxury supplier, but were harvested directly from the wild, rugged estates of the royal family itself. What were these treasures of the Highlands that graced the silver platters of the palace, and why were they considered the ultimate mark of aristocratic status? We are about to explore the flavors of Sandringham and Balmoral. While the world marveled at the silver carriages and the silk taffeta, the true heart of the royal wedding breakfast lay in the ingredients themselves. For Prince Charles and Princess Diana, luxury was defined not by what could be bought from a merchant, but by what was harvested from the ancient lands held by the crown. This was a menu designed to be a map of the United Kingdom, drawing specifically from the family's private sanctuaries in the rugged Highlands of Scotland and the lush plains of England. For an audience that remembers the era of the fairy tale wedding, understanding this connection to the land adds a layer of profound sincerity to the day's opulence. The meal began with exquisite salmon caught directly from the River Dee, which flows through the majestic Balmoral estate. This was salmon with a royal pedigree, plucked from the cold, clear waters where the royal family has retreated for generations. A veteran palace steward once recalled the atmosphere as these platters were brought into the dining room, noting that the guests understood the significance of the dish. He remarked that to serve salmon from the Dee was the Queen's way of sharing the most intimate part of her home with her guests, a gesture of supreme hospitality that no amount of money could replicate. Following the salmon came succulent lamb, sourced from the historic pastures of the Great Park at Windsor. This was the ultimate expression of the farm-to-table philosophy, occurring decades before it became a modern culinary trend. For the British aristocracy, being self-sufficient was the highest mark of status. To feed one's guests with meat and fish from one's own estates was a tradition that stretched back to the Middle Ages. It was a statement of stewardship and a testament to the family's deep, ancestral connection to the British soil. Every ingredient on the silver platters was treated with a reverence usually reserved for national treasures. The chefs ensured that the natural, robust flavors of the Highlands and the Windsor Plains were the true stars of the plate. It was a meal that not only welcomed the new Princess of Wales to the family, but also physically connected her to the lands she would now represent as a future queen. As the breakfast concluded and the echoes of the final toasts faded, the guests prepared to depart the palace. However, they did not leave empty-handed. Every person who attended, from the highest-ranking officials to the dedicated palace staff, received a small, beautifully crafted item designed to preserve the memory of the day. What was inside these precious silver boxes that allowed people to keep a physical piece of the wedding for over 40 years? we are about to uncover the secret of the royal keepsakes. As the grandeur of the day reached its emotional peak, a unique tradition ensured that the memory of this wedding of the century would not merely fade away into history books. Every guest who sat at the royal tables, and even the dedicated staff working behind the scenes, was presented with a small, exquisite, silver presentation box. These were not mere party favors. They were designed as vessels for a tangible piece of the day's celebration. Inside each box, embossed with the Prince of Wales' feathers and the intertwined initials of Charles and Diana, lay a perfectly cut slice of the monumental 225-pound wedding cake. For the audience today, it is almost impossible to imagine keeping a piece of food for over 40 years, yet these slices have become some of the most coveted royal relics in existence. A former palace aide once recalled the meticulous process of preparing these boxes, describing how the kitchen staff worked with surgical precision to wrap each slice in specialized parchment before sealing it in the silver. She remarked that at the time, they knew they were handling something special, but no one could have guessed that these small boxes would eventually be guarded like crown jewels by collectors around the world. The secret to this incredible longevity lies in the recipe itself. The traditional British fruitcake, soaked in high-proof brandy and packed with sugar-crystallized fruits, acts as a natural preservative. This allowed the cake to remain structurally intact and, remarkably, biologically stable for decades. In recent years, these tiny silver boxes have appeared at major auction houses, with single slices fetching staggering prices of up to £3,000. Collectors are not just buying cake, they are buying a preserved second of 1980. A physical connection to the moment the world believed in fairy tales. Yet, while these souvenirs represented the lasting sweetness of the day, the reality of serving the feast itself was a feat of staggering complexity. Behind the scenes, the palace was not just a stage for a wedding, it was a high-pressure engine operating under the strictest rules of the past. To serve over 2,500 people across various receptions, the culinary team had to function like a time machine, reviving an ancient and demanding style of service. How did 21 chefs manage to plate thousands of dishes using a classic French system that had barely changed since the 1900s? The secret to this flawless precision lay in a method that was as much a military drill as it was an art form. We are going to look at the final, hidden gears of the palace kitchen. The wedding of 1981 was more than just a ceremony. It was the final, majestic symphony of a bygone age. As the world moved toward the fast-paced modern era, the banquet inside Buckingham Palace remained anchored in the strict, elegant traditions of the 19th century. For an audience that appreciates the steadfast values of heritage, nothing illustrates this better than the wedding menu itself. Every course was presented on heavy cream cardstock, embossed with gold crests and written entirely in French. This was the linguistic hallmark of the Victorian and Edwardian eras, a time when French was the undisputed language of high diplomacy and fine dining. A senior palace steward later reflected on this tradition, noting that even as the world outside was changing, the Queen insisted on maintaining the standards set by her ancestors. He recalled how the kitchen staff spoke of the menu not just as a list of food, but as a sacred script that had to be followed to the letter. To serve Suprême de Volaille instead of chicken breast was a statement that the British monarchy remained the ultimate guardian of classical European culture. Beneath the surface of this formal elegance, a profound human transition was taking place. The 1981 wedding marked a rare moment of overlap between two generations of royal servants. In the kitchens, veteran chefs, who had prepared the Queen's coronation feast in 1953, worked side by side with young apprentices who would go on to serve the royal household well into the 21st century. One of these young chefs later described the experience as a passing of the torch. He recounted how the older masters would watch over their shoulders, ensuring that every sauce was whisked with the exact rhythm required 50 years prior, while the younger team brought a new energy to the task of feeding 2,500 people. This feast was the pinnacle of a golden era of royal extravagance. It was the last time the world would see a banquet of this scale, conducted with such rigid, classical formality, before the monarchy began to adopt the more streamlined, modern styles of the present day. The menu of Charles and Diana was the perfect finale to a century of tradition, a moment where history, art, and culinary excellence met at their highest possible point. If you enjoyed this journey back to the most iconic wedding of the 20th century, please subscribe to our channel for more hidden stories of royal history. We invite you to like this video and share your own favorite memory of 1981 in the comments below. Thank you for watching and for helping us keep these extraordinary traditions alive.